JFK's head went back instead of forward. I mean, it's on film.
Does it every time?
Yeah, every time you look at the film, the head goes back. Kind of makes you think about conspiracies.
There's always been a certain percentage of people in any society who want to have one theory to explain everything, or at least everything they care about. Now, these people can be religious, or they can be conspiracy theorists. I'm not saying all people who talk about conspiracies are that kind of conspiracy theorist or that kind of person.
There's a reason, a basic psychological need that pushes people towards conspiracy theories. And I'm not saying like an individual psychological need. I mean, I think everybody's got this. The world can be a frightening and chaotic place because randomness and chaos are kind of scary. I think everybody finds chaos scary. I mean, it might be exciting for a brief period, but in general, people don't want to, look at the world and see chaos. I think that impulse is why religion is almost, or has been almost universal.
It can be very comforting, I guess, psychologically to say, oh, well, there's this secret group of X who control things and stuff.
Cavemen or whoever was around 15,000 years ago. I mean, you want to think that there's a reason that that Og got struck by lightning, and that whoever the crops grew one year and didn't grow the next year. Well, there's got to be some somebody making that decision, some authority figure, because otherwise, how can you plan for anything if the world is completely random events? So I think that's a basic impulse.
They both believe in the positive action of things or forces that are unseen.
The idea of looking for some sort of religious organization. I mean, the Greeks with the whole pantheon of gods and all that, where one god, I mean, which was a kind of in some ways a better setup than monotheism, because in that setup you can explain, you don't get questions like, why does God allow suffering? Because you have one God had this interest and did this to the humans to provoke the other God because they were having a conflict. You can explain stuff a lot better with that particular bunch of fables than with the Old Testament.
Another one is that they both play off of mythology. Well, one of the purposes of myth is to deeply connect and explain otherwise ineffable aspects of human personality.
Modern life is chaotic in different ways than caveman life or, rural 19th century life. Again, I'm sure there were things that people had conspiracy theories about prior to the Kennedy assassination. But that one really, that was the event. That's clearly the turning point, the origin point for modern conspiracy thinking.
And I was walking to a class, and the first thing I saw was walking down the hall, every single person I saw was crying. So I wasn't sure what it was until I got to the quad area, and in those days we had little transistor radios, and of course when they were all tuned into one station, it was a pretty incredible audio experience. You get 200 of those.
In Dallas,
radios.
Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas.
Important bulletin. President Kennedy was given blood transfusions just a few moments ago at Parkland Hospital in an effort to save his life.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
In fact, there's a good friend of mine who's very intelligent, where I brought up he was an economics major, so intelligent but maybe doesn't have great judgment. But anyway, I brought up JFK, and he asked me, well, wait, why are you even bothering to talk about this?
It was the first time I think I really felt fear, an immense fear, because we were always fearful of the Cold War anyway.
Here's the patented, so the door doesn't fall down. Gotta get a shot of that. All right.
All right, so explain to me what we have here.
Well, we got everything. All these boxes down here. I'll pull a couple out for you here.
tapes, interviews, other things. A lot of the FOIA requests, demographics. I Led 3 Lives, the book that Oswald literally molded his life around. Of course, Death of a President. This was just a reprint. They just covered. I got a lot of copies of affidavits and things like that. These were obtained by me way before they even got into book forms and things like that. Whatever was available, and they'd say, "What subject are you looking for?" And I'd say, "Anything to do with JFK." And boy, you'd be surprised the looks on their faces. It's like, you know, you're from another planet.
Try doing that when you were 12. Right after President Kennedy was killed, the Dallas police arrested a man named Lee Harvey Oswald. The police believed Oswald had killed the president, but they were not able to find out from him if he had done it or why he had done it, for Oswald himself was killed before he could tell what he knew. When I was 12, I stood in my school library and read these paragraphs to myself. I immediately had questions, for the whole thing made no sense. Why was Oswald killed? What happened? I went home and asked my mother. She said there was a lot of debate on the subject. She also said there was a film. That Saturday, while my father worked out across the street, I went to the library and found the rabbit hole.
And I said, well, you know, if an American president was actually gunned down by a conspiracy, don't you think that's important? And he said, well, you know, it's ancient history.
Gallery, a lot of these kind of skin magazines had a lot of interesting articles on them, and a lot of interesting pictures to boot. A lot of the tabloids and stuff I collected. The National Examiner. I've got a bunch of stuff too over in my parents' garage that I put up in rafters, probably another 20 boxes that size.
So you've been collecting since it happened, basically.
Oh yeah, the minute it happened. Okay.
The thing is, though, it probably isn't ancient history, because if JFK was in fact gunned down by a conspiracy and not by a guy shooting the world's worst shoulder-fired weapon through a tree, you know, with magic bullets, if he was in fact gunned down by a conspiracy, then probably the people who gunned him down are still at large, probably still in positions of power, and probably still manipulating things behind the scenes. It only stands to reason.
To see Jack Ruby shoot Oswald live on TV, I mean, that was like, I mean, we see it all the time on reality shows now, but that was the very first reality show. It was about 10 o'clock on the West Coast, and I'm in my pajamas watching it, you know. I had this little portable TV, a little black and white in my room, and I sat there and I couldn't believe my eyes. But I ran into my parents' bedroom, I remember, that when it happened, and I said, oh my God, he shot him. Everybody was happy. I mean, it was weird. Everybody in the whole block, everybody I knew, hey, did you hear? Oswald got shot. Great. Oh, fantastic. And that's my exact feelings. And then when I saw this happen, something happened inside of me where I felt very sympathetic towards this guy. I thought, wait a minute, he didn't get a fighting chance. Maybe there's something to this, you know? I guess that's what really sparked my interest right away.
One day I was in this bookstore and I picked up an old copy of Playboy magazine, the Jim Garrison interview. The Garrison investigation interested me, although I was too young to really understand what the heck it was all about. But it interested me because it created such a buzz in the press at the time, most of it negative. But I always had this lingering suspicion about something really weird was going on here. So I picked up that interview and I took it home. And I started reading it before I went to bed. It's a very long interview. It's the longest interview Playboy ever printed. I ended up reading it till 3 o'clock in the morning. It was so interesting. It was like reading Shakespeare by lightning. When I got done reading that interview, I said, wow, this guy was really onto something. And now I think I know why they did what they did to him. So that was my rude awakening, you know, to whatever you want to call it, the world of deep politics or parapolitics or the stuff we don't see in the newspapers and on TV, that there really were invisible forces that most people don't know about or even think about or even dream about, okay, that really are at work affecting, you know, the political system that we supposedly live under.